I always wanted to create a proper character sheet, but I have a bad habit of starting one, only for them to vanish into the VIP folder void, never to be seen again. I wanted to join Artfight this year, so it's pretty much mandatory to have a character sheet ready. So I made this one on my D&D character Gabe. And yes, I know I have a talent of picking the most mundane names possible for my fantasy characters. There's just something so satisfying about looking at professional sheets from my favorite games or animated movies. I always wonder, how do you make layout look that appealing? How do you tackle turnarounds while keeping your character on model? Anyway, let's get to it. Before we grab our pen, we need to know exactly who this character is. This will fuel our research later. According to my D&D sheet, Gabe, short for Gabriel Arrowwind, is a stout halfling, so he's part of the smaller races in the D&D universe. He's an outlaw and part of a thieves guild, but he loathes the constant plotting, so he spends as much time in the woods as possible. Despite his background, he's a good aligned character that wants to do the right thing. He's very friendly, kind, and helpful. However, because he's a little bit socially awkward and forgotten how to talk to people, he relies on the flask to loosen up, which occasionally gets out of hand. Okay, I don't suggest you drink to loosen up. It is a terrible idea, and it does put Gabe in some pretty bad situations, like end up in a jail cell or face down in a ditch. In terms of combat, he's a ranger and a hunter. A bow will be his weapon of choice. He's also a skilled brawler thanks to some illegal cage fighting, so he will also be quite skilled with the fists, which would never happen if he was sober. Okay, I can go on and on talking a lot more about his backstory, but let's pinpoint down some keywords regarding his personality. Let's boil it all down into a couple of key pillars to base our design on later. Gabe is kind, helpful, friendly, socially awkward, outdoorsy, reliant on some bad news to get through tough conversations. Alright, with our keywords set, it is time for research. Here are all my references gathered in PureRef and some keywords on my thoughts. Usually, rangers in concept art defaults to green cloaks and hoods in their design. It makes sense for camouflage, but I wanted to avoid the Robin Hood cliché since it will not really suit the character. I stick with the green palette, but I looked at hiking clothes and gears for inspiration. It's loose, practical, meant for long walking hours in any weather. I'm also going to give him wrap hands and feet, like a cross between hikers and MMA fighters. To show off his hunter background, he'll wear deerskin and fur, collected from his travel. I'm envisioning a medieval cowl with Scandinavian-inspired pattern. A heavy backpack to carry his bow, and his arrow will be attached to the belt on the side. Now for some messy sketches. At this stage, I'm using simple shapes only to see if the ideas actually work. I keep this small so I can iterate quickly. A pro tip if you like a design but want to test out other directions, just copy the sketch and alter a few shapes to see where it goes. I really like the medieval cowl idea, which creates a downward triangle or a V shape, so I decided to repeat this triangle shape design throughout the outfit to keep it cohesive. For his face, I'm using rounder shapes to match his friendly personality. Since he's socially awkward and lives in the woods, his grooming is not his forte. I'm making his hair messy and adding some dirt, scars and bruises from those cage fights and from running around in the woods all day. Now for the technical part, the turnaround. To keep Gabe on model, I'll use guidelines for major features like eyes, nose, shoulder, waist, feet, head, etc. This ensures that the proportions stay the same in every view. I start drawing the front view in an A pose. I'm focusing on big, medium and small shape to keep the details balanced. Once the front is done, I can duplicate it to construct the back view. After that, I will draw the side view. I noticed with a lot of beginner art often overlooked props. For example, was the prop a keepsake from somewhere and how did the character get it, etc. Make sure that all your props reflects the character as true to your attention as possible. I'm repeating this deer skin idea from his outfit onto his bow design, as well to suggest he made it himself out of things he collected. For expression, the key is to understanding how the facial muscles squash and stretch, and how it behaves. For a surprised expression, the face would stretch as the jaw is opening. For an angry look, the face would squash more and the nose rises. If you are unsure about expression, use your own face or look at photos for inspiration, then exaggerate them to fit your style. I looked at a lot of Emilia Clarke expression. She's quite animated, and this one specifically is perfect for someone that cringed so much at their own behavior. Presentation is everything, so we need a hero pose to show off the character in a more appealing way. Since Gabe is an archer, I'm drawing him with his bow out, coming towards the camera, like he's caught in the act of firing one of his arrows. I'm using a 3/4 view to give him more dimension and life. Finally, we arrange everything. I've added the same pattern on his clothes behind him, and a pop of color behind the hero pose to make it stand out. A pro tip: if you get stuck on layout, you can look at how professionals are designing their character sheets. A good rule of thumb is to think of the layout in thirds. Decide on which element needs the most space, usually the hero pose that sells the entire design, and which can be smaller. I hope this helped you boil down the process of designing your own characters. Let me know in the comments if you want me to deep dive into something specific, like prop design or expressions. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.